What's up, you guys? Thank you for clicking on this video. So as you can tell by the title, a classic chrisjaammm video on the channel. You know it was coming. Y'all know I was gonna do a video on this. The controversy surrounding SS-86 Megatron. Everything from not even just the gun mode, but the gun and robot mode, the details, the colors, everything. I have my own little gripes with this figure, but honestly, my own opinion, I'm gonna just put it out there right now in this video. I think it's the best Hasbro Megatron they've ever made. And it's probably gonna be the best for a while, at least 3-4 years, I'd say, until they do probably another one. And seeing this discourse, I'm not surprised by it at this point. I mean, it just seems like every year it gets worse with fandoms and nerd culture with discourse in terms of stuff like this, whether it's warranted or not. A lot of times it's not warranted. But, you know, let's tackle something that's kind of like beating a dead horse here first. Let's just get this out of the way before we move into like other aspects of the figure. So the vehicle mode, it's obviously a tank. We knew about this like a year before this figure was even leaked, that he would be a tank. Evan, who is one of the lead designers, if not the lead designer on Studio Series, he said on Instagram that if we did an 86 Megatron, he would be a tank, not a gun. And people are still surprised the last couple weeks. I'm seeing talks about it in Facebook groups, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube even. Now, it's no knock to anybody that is complaining that I wish he was a gun, or people that are saying that, when are we going to get a gun mode Megatron? This is disrespect or whatever. I get what they're saying to a degree, but at the same time, I feel like I gotta say here, what are you expecting at this point? They haven't made a gun mode Megatron in almost 20 years. It's been since 2006 with the Classics Voyager, and that was even a Nerf gun in like neon green colors and stuff. And you could argue we did get that Legends class in 2010 that was like a pistol or something, but that was a Legends class, and still, that was like 15-16 years ago. We're going on 20 years since Hasbro's touched gun mode Megatron, and they have done probably like close to 10 G1 Megatron figures since that time frame, since the Classics figure or the Legends class figure. And you're still surprised that we're not getting a gun mode for a G1 Megatron figure? I don't know, it seems a little silly to me. I don't know, maybe if I was somebody that grew up in the 80s with G1, I would be a bit more on their side, but I'm trying to like play devil's advocate and like compare to how I felt when they did that crappy, lazy retool for Cybertron Vector Prime last year, because that's my era of Transformers, the early 2000s, with the movies and Unicron trilogy, animated, Prime, all that stuff. That's my era, basically. And I'm trying to like compare that to no gun mode here for 86 megs, and I don't know, I just don't feel like it's the same thing. I don't feel like it warrants the same amount of complaining, because the world is different. You know, it's just a fact. Like, stuff with guns has gotten worse over the last 40 years. The country, they've just adapted to that. Toy companies, whatever. You know, they're just not doing a lot of realistic guns, especially one that would be like 8 inches. It would be like a regular scaled gun in real life if they did a leader class 86 Megatron that turned into a gun. So, I don't know, man. If it was black and silver too, like, you just never know. Somebody goes outside with that thing. Like, that's why these laws are put into place. And it makes sense. Like, I don't really see the problem with this. But, again, I do understand that it does suck we can't see a gun mode Megatron. But that's, like, why are we still surprised? It's been so long at this point. But, you know, I just want to kind of move past that reasoning. Fact of the matter is, I think we should just get over it at this point. The gun laws are not going to allow Hasbro to do a gun mode Megatron in 2025. And even the last time we got one, it was a Nerf gun. 20 years ago in 2006, it was still tricky. Like, what makes you think in 2025 it's going to be even easier? We haven't gotten a new mold for gun mode Megatron, that's the Walter P38, since that original figure 40 years ago. So I don't know what people thought was going to change over the last 40 years. There's been reissues and there's been Masterpiece figures that were released overseas in Japan, but here in the US, there's been nothing basically since 2006 or 2010, and there's definitely not been anything for the actual G1 gun since 1985 or something. Like, I can't remember when they discontinued making that exact figure. Maybe it was like 86. I can't remember. But yeah, I just want to move past that. The couple other things that, the leg coloring and the look of the gun in robot mode. I get what people are saying. I do agree that maybe it could have been less of a blue for the legs, and the gun barrel thing, the arm cannon, it could have been proportioned a bit better, more accurate to the cartoon. But even still, I feel like people are just complaining to complain, because you compare the gun barrel to Siege or Earthrise, and then you compare it to the cartoon model. The new 86 one is way more accurate with the details and the shape than the freaking black hot dog stick of the Siege and Earthrise arm cannons. It just doesn't make any sense to me to be that vocal about the arm cannon. Sure, it's still a little disproportionate, but it is definitely the best G1 arm cannon we've gotten with the look of it. I've seen people complain about the tank mode and not being as good, but I mean, with how they were doing things, they had to sacrifice one mode for the other. And obviously, we would all prefer a more accurate robot mode to some random made-up tank mode for this figure that didn't even appear in the cartoon or the movie. So I gotta say that they did what they could. But even if they did the right thing in sacrificing the tank mode for the glorious robot mode that we got, in my opinion, I still think the tank mode is lackluster. I do agree with people like that. Turret, the way it turns, doesn't look good. Just the overall details of the tank just doesn't feel like a leader class. It feels more like a Voyager or a Deluxe class. But again, seeing that robot mode and seeing the amount of steps it takes to transform that figure on the back of the box we saw a few days ago, I can kind of excuse it. And then some people talk about like the proportions of the overall body and the head sculpt looking a bit too much like some mean lunch lady or something. I don't know, it seems pretty accurate to the G1 cartoon model to me. It seems like it's way better than the Siege and Earthrise molds. And the proportions for the robot mode, like the forearms and stuff, I feel like that's a bit more nitpicky, even though I do kind of see what people are saying. I mean, this thing's got to transform. It looks like the hands have to flip into the forearms. And, for an actual figure, like, proportions just change for figures. Like, you just can't have it exactly the same as you did in the cartoon, because these things have to fold into each other. Parts go into another piece. So you can't expect for the proportions to be absolutely perfect. And I think they really nailed it, all things considered, with this Megatron. They surely did a lot better with this than they did with that 86 Optimus last year, in my opinion, with that big backpack and the more chunky midsection, I'd say. So, I don't know, I feel like a lot of stuff is nitpicky, and then the gun mode thing is just being silly. I do agree in terms of the proportions with the gun, with the arm cannon, and the color for the lower legs. That's about it to me. And the tank mode being a little too cheap looking for the $60 price point. But other than those like three things that I would kind of agree with, I feel like everything else is just nitpicks or complaining just to complain. But let me know down in the comments below, how do y'all feel about the issues people have with this 86 Megatron and the controversy surrounding the vehicle mode change, as always. And yeah, thank y'all for watching this video. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye!